Hi friends! Welcome to my channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you. If you've never been here before and this is the first video of mine that you're watching, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Liz, aka Knife Girl, and for this video I thought I would talk a little bit about different kinds of crochet hooks. Maybe this can be some helpful info to a beginner crocheter or somebody who's like interested in it but hasn't tried it yet and just maybe wants a little bit more information. Now, I'm not in any way an expert. I just started crocheting last year, 2022, like I don't know, the summertime of 2022, so I'm not in any way an expert, but I feel like I do have enough info and knowledge to just be able to help a beginner. So I thought I would do a little video about hooks in particular. So if you are interested in this, then hang around and let's get into the video. So if you've been on my channel before and you are kind of familiar with my content, you know I like to do a lot of reviews of things. You may also know that I'm a little bit obsessed with crochet at the moment, so I thought I might do kind of like a little half review, half just general information about crochet hooks. I'm just going to show you the hooks that I have because I like to do reviews and I just really like to test out new things. I've actually bought a bunch, and some were given to me, but I have a lot of different kinds of hooks. So I thought because I have several different kinds, I could kind of explain things to someone who is a beginner. So just to kind of show you my collection, I have some from Furls, I have some Susan Bates ones, I have some, these are just kind of generic from Amazon. These are just kind of generic from the dollar store. And then I also have some thicker boys also from Amazon. So before we get too kind of deep into it, let me just kind of give you a tiny little crash course on crochet hooks. There is a little bit of information that you might find helpful as a beginner. When it comes to crochet hooks, what you need for a project, there's some things to consider. There's the size of the hook, meaning like the millimeter, the thickness of it, which that is actually important to the pattern or the item that you're making. Sometimes the thickness of the hook will determine like how loose or how tightly crocheted or woven your fabric ends up being. So the bigger the hook, the bigger the holes in the project that you're making, and vice versa. The smaller the hook, the tighter it's going to be. Maybe a little less stretch, but maybe a little more strength or a little less breathability. There's just kind of a trade-off. So when it comes to crochet, the size of the hook is important, but the style of the hook is not necessarily important. So basically there's two main styles. There's what's called tapered, which looks like this, and there's inline, which looks like this, if you can see it. Now, for this one, it's called an inline because, as you can see, it's kind of just all in one shaft line. The hook part is kind of carved in there, and it's got this sharp point at the end, which for this one, which is a tapered one, you can see the hook part kind of protrudes just a little bit more. It's kind of got a more rounded-ish profile, I guess you would say. Let me just put them side by side, and hopefully you can hopefully see the differences here. Like, this is the inline and then this is the tapered variety. So hopefully you can see that pretty clearly. There's the two varieties. When it comes down to the style of your hook, that is really just down to preference, because you can really make any project with any kind of hook. The only thing that you will need to consider when your project is the size. So here's a little example of that. These are all a size K or a 6.5 millimeter, all three of these. So as you can see, this one, I don't know if you can see the label, probably not, it's pretty faint, but this is a K, this is a K, and then this is a K. It's a 6 5.5 millimeter. So these are all pretty chunky. This one I got from the dollar store. This one is just generic from Amazon. And this one is actually Susan Bates Twist and Lock. I'll kind of get into my little review of all of these different varieties, just in case you're a beginner and you want to kind of be a little more informed about what type of hook you may want to get. But they're all the same size, so if you're trying to make a project that calls for a K hook or like a larger hook, any of these will work just fine. So let me now kind of talk about the different kinds of hooks I have. So my first set of hooks, they were gifted to me by my sister. My sister's been crocheting for a really long time now. She's like obsessed with it, kind of like I am now obsessed with it. Someone had gifted her this little set. It's like a full set of a bunch of different sizes. So as you can see, there's some really skinny ones, there's some really thick ones, and there's a lot of in-between ones. But someone, and you know, they're all color-coded different and they're all labeled differently. But someone had given her this set and she didn't really want it or use it because she doesn't really enjoy the tapered style of crochet hooks, so she gave them to me and I've been using them and I like them. These are just, I think, just from Amazon. They have like a kind of ergonomic, like silicone handle, which is, you know, a little more comfortable than maybe some other handles, and they're not that expensive. So if you are thinking of taking up crochet and you just want to get like a whole complete set, like you can find this on Amazon for pretty cheap, and this will be perfect. This will work just fine for you. So yeah, these are the ones that I started with, and this was honestly everything I needed. I used the different sizes for different projects and it worked just fine. Then, because I like to try things, I literally just went to the dollar store and I got these. It was just a pack of 3. There's just 3 sizes. There's an H, an I, and a K, which is a 5 millimeter, a 5.5 millimeter, and then a 6.5 millimeter. So I kind of bought these just because I kind of just wanted to try the metal ones, and I thought it would also be handy to have a couple that are just kind of cheapy throwaway ones. Like, I thought I might use these for travel so I could like crochet on the plane, because you are allowed to take crochet hooks on the plane, but I think depending on where you go or if you go to different countries, there's always like a slight chance that someone might confiscate them from you. And I figured if I just take ones that I got from the dollar store, it's fine if I lose them or they get confiscated. So these are tapered style. As you can see, they look just like the other ones. Let me show you a comparison. These are both the same size. They are both an I size, or a 5.5 millimeter, but they're tapered. They have basically the same hook. They're basically the same. The only difference is just the handle style. So, and I've used this one for a lot of things, so it works fine. And like I said, these are at the dollar store. I think you can find these kinds pretty much anywhere. If you want to take up crochet and this is all you can find, this will be perfect for you. It will work perfectly. I just bought these ones on Amazon only because the largest size that I had in the metal ones was an 8 millimeter, and I just wanted to have some larger ones in case I wanted to work with some larger yarn. So this is just a little set. It goes from an 8 millimeter up to the biggest is a 15 millimeter. So they're just some chunky boys. That's all they are. They're plastic. They are a tapered style as well. They don't really have a point, but if you're working with bigger yarn, you're not going to need a really sharp point anyway. I think I ended up using the 8 millimeter for something. I don't remember what it was, but it was fine. It was comfortable. I liked this one because the handle is a little bit longer than, say, here. So this is actually an 8 millimeter. This is an 8 millimeter. They're the same width, same size. I just liked it that the handle is longer, so it was just more comfortable for me than like this. It does kind of bug me a little bit that these ones, they kind of poke me right here. So I found that I do kind of prefer a longer handle. So this one was good. But yeah, these were also cheap. I think it was like $12 for a set of 4. And then now into the more interesting ones. So as I started getting more into crochet, I was coming across like brands and stuff, and sometimes when I come across a brand that looks interesting, I want to try it. So I found this brand called Furls. And they have a lot of really cool hooks in a lot of different varieties. There's like wooden ones, there's resin ones, there's metal ones, and they come in kind of like a variety of styles. And I was really interested in them, and I just wanted to try them. Now, full disclosure, these are kind of more, I don't know if you want to say like artistic or like specialty hooks, but these are obviously a lot more money than your standard Amazon hook. So these, I think I would kind of consider these to be like for collectors or for people who like aesthetic things when they crochet. I don't know. Let me just show you so you can understand what I mean. So I have two varieties of the Furls hooks. Now, all the ones that I have are from their Streamline line. I have 3 Streamline hooks. So I have this beautiful resin one, which I don't know if you can see the colors really well, but it's just like a beautiful swirly purple and blue. And this is an eye, because I found that I was using eye a lot. And this is actually an inline hook. If you can see, it's a little hard because it's kind of dark, but this is an inline hook, and it's just really beautiful and sparkly. Like, it's just not showing up great on camera, but I think it's beautiful. Here, maybe I can insert a picture here like from my phone so you could see. So I have this one, which is the resin one, and then I have 2 wooden ones that the resin one was a Christmas present from my sister, and these 2 I purchased for myself. And I think each one, let me see, I think the resin one was about $24. And then I think these were kind of in that ballpark. These are the wooden ones that I have. Let me see. So these are actually, if you can see, these are inline hooks as well, both of them. And they have this beautiful, like, big kind of ergonomic handle. So I have an H and an I size. I went with I because I felt like I was using I-sized hooks a lot for things. So these are both, just as a size comparison, these are both I, and they're both inline, and they both have this same ergonomic handle, which I found to be very comfortable as I'm crocheting. Like, I've used them both. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little like hesitant to use this one just because I know that resin is like kind of a softer plastic, and I'm just worried that I'm gonna drop it or accidentally like jab it into something and like chip it or bend it or break it or something. So I kind of just want to save this one as like a display piece. But the wooden ones feel just a little bit more sturdy. Not that this doesn't feel sturdy, but it just feels so lightweight that I don't know, it kind of scares me to use it. But the wooden ones feel a little more sturdy, and I've used these more for like projects, and they work really well. I like them a lot. Yeah, these are my pretty Furls ones. These are, as I mentioned, these are a lot more expensive than your regular Walmart or Michaels or Joann crochet hooks or Amazon. These, I think, are obviously geared to people like me who are like now obsessed with all things crochet and just wanted to try some beautiful, pretty hooks, but not in any way necessary. I do think the ergonomic handle on these is really helpful. I really have been finding that I enjoy a bigger, thicker handle, just because, you know, as you're crocheting for hours and hours, your hands start to hurt, and I've found that the ergonomic handles are so much better for me. But again, not necessary, because there's lots of things you can do to kind of combat the hand fatigue. You can wear compression gloves or just take breaks and do stretches and everything, but that's just my personal preference. I found that the thicker handle boys are better for me, and I enjoy them more. So then the last one I was going to show you is this one, and this actually, I bought this not really on purpose. It was kind of like by fluke. I went to, by the way, this is called the Susan Bates Twist and Lock system, but I just stopped at Joann after work one day and to buy some yarn, and I just happened to see these were on clearance. The set came with the handle and 2 hooks, and then I also after I bought it, I sat in the car for a minute and thought about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna want a couple other sizes. So I went back and I also bought this second little set, which came with 2 other sized hooks and a little yarn cutter attachment. So for this system, basically I have 3 hook sizes. I have a K, an I, an H, and a J, I think. So, and then also this little yarn cutter. And how this works is you have this big chunky handle with 2 openings on either side, and it's called the twist and lock system. So basically you've got your little nubbins here, if you can see the little holes. So you just line up the holes with the nubbins, you twist it and you lock it, and it's pretty solid. And then you just get this beefy handle crochet hook. And the handy thing is it's got 2 sides, so if for some reason you wanted like Darth Maul, if you wanted 2 hooks, I don't know why, might need it, or what I've been doing is, what you can do is just keep it turned around. So this is usually how I'll use it, and then if I need to like switch or something, I'll just put this bad boy away, take this one out, ka-chow, and then we're good to go. But these are inline hooks. As you can see, this is the one I was showing you before. It's an inline hook. It's got the point on the end, and then the actual hook part is kind of indented in there. Because I obviously started learning on these ones, which are the tapered variety. And I asked my sister, because my sister says that she prefers inline above everything else, and I asked her why, and she said she just likes it better because it doesn't get caught on the yarn as much, I think. And I did notice like a slight learning curve when I switched from the tapered to the inline. For me, what was happening is like the loops would like slip off my hook a lot, and I'd have to go back and do them again. But really, after like a few minutes of just like getting the hang of it again, it was fine, and I was right back to crocheting at the same speed that I was doing before. So now I kind of use both interchangeably. Like, it's kind of weird how I go back and forth, but it's just kind of like whichever, honestly, it's whichever one I feel like using, I'll just use. So sometimes I'll use these ones. The thing I do really like about this one is the big chunky handle. So if I'm working on something where I'm crocheting for a really long time, I'll probably maybe pick this one just because I really like the super thick handle, as opposed to, again, this is all preference, but let's see, line them up. I like that the hooks are all basically in the same spot, but I like for this one that the handle is so much longer, because as I mentioned before, it kind of annoys me that it pokes me right there. And then the same one, the handle here is just so narrow that it kind of, after a long time, it hurts your hands. So this lately has kind of been my preference, just because the chunky handle is so much more comfortable for me. But like I said, I literally am swapping back and forth between all 3 of these like all the time. And it's really just, it's really just what my heart tells me to do. I don't really like, it doesn't really matter like what project I'm doing. It's just kind of, yeah, how I want my hand to feel. And the same with the furls. Like, I've gone back and forth between like these and this one, and then one of the furls ones, and it's just kind of like honestly what I feel like using at the time. But at the end of the day, they're really all the same. So like the Susan Bates one, I actually got on clearance, because as you can see, it still has the clearance tag on it, and then there was like additional sales on top of the clearance sale. So I got these like all together for maybe like $15, and I think these can be a little expensive if you buy like the whole set. For me, I think it is worth it just because I love the big chunky handle. You don't need anything this fancy. If you're interested in crocheting and all you can find is this one at the dollar store, get it, because it's cheap and effective, and it will work exactly perfectly for everything you need it. As I mentioned, the only thing you're going to need to take into consideration is the size. So as you can see, I have a K, here's a K versus an I. So there's a difference of, diameter of the hook. Let me show you something a little more different. Here's a C versus a K. As you can see, big size difference. So the size is the only thing that's going to be important if you're following a pattern or you're trying to make something in a certain style. Yeah, if you have been interested in trying crochet, it's a pretty easy hobby to get into. Honestly, just go buy a thing of yarn, buy a hook, and find a tutorial on YouTube and make some stuff, and it's really fun. So yeah, I keep all my hooks in here with the exception of my Furls ones, which I keep in their boxes, and I kind of keep those on a shelf because they're more expensive. But yeah, that's my hook collection slash info dumping slash sort of review. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's my goal this year to build more of a community around this channel, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it. So if you want to jump in the bandwagon, please jump on in. We're happy to have you. And if you, as I said, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And I guess I will see you next time. Bye, friends.